Hello everyone, this week we're focusing on Cambridge IGCSE Mathematics, topic of algebra, subtopic of travel graphs. So a travel graph basically tells how much of a distance you've covered within a particular time. So you can actually use travel graphs to identify the speed, places where the object or the vehicle that we are considering is not moving, etc. So let's see. Now, if you go ahead and you see this particular graph, so we have told that James is going on a cycling ride. We are also told that James's distance from home on this cycle ride is what is shown here, right? So find James' speed for the first 60 minutes. So you can mark the first 60 minutes as so, right? Now, what you need to understand is speed is distance divided by time, if you can recall from the time distance formula. And so, actually, in a distance time graph, the slope that you see here, or the gradient in other words, is actually what will give us the speed. So, we can see that this particular cycle has gone 12 kilometers in 60 minutes. So that is 12 divided by 60, which is 0.2 kilometers per minute was the speed. Okay, so have a look at this one. Now this time we have to be very careful. We have a speed times graph, not a distance time graph, right? And it is telling us to calculate the total distance of the journey. Now, if you are given a speed times graph, what you need to understand is distance is actually the area under a speed times graph. So what they are doing here is they are breaking this particular graph into three parts. The first part, the second part, and the third part. And they're working out the individual areas and then adding them together. So since the first part is a triangle, we know that it is half times base times height. So half times 3 times 4, which is 6 kilometers. The area of the central rectangle is basically the difference between 50 and 4 is 46, right? And the height of that rectangle is 3. So therefore, the area is 138 kilometers. And again, the last part is another triangle. And the triangle is 10 for the base, 3 for the height, and half comes in the formula. So that will be another 15 kilometers. And if we add all these together, we will be able to find out the total distance that was traveled by this train. All right, so that is the basic tips and tricks that you would need to go through in this particular chapter. Let's do some questions. All right. So moving on to some questions. A car journey on a great trip to the hills is recorded. Work out the maximum speed over the course of the trip. Okay, so this is a distance time graph and we know that the speed is represented by the gradient or the slope of these graphs. So if you see, if we can identify which is the steepest slope, then that is probably going to be the maximum speed that we would have gone over the course of this trip. Now, looking at it, the steepest line seems to be this particular one here, which is in 1 hour of a time, this person has gone roughly about 48 kilometers per hour. So therefore, if you look at the options, is option number 1. All right. State in which of the regions OA, AB, BC, CD, and DE the car is accelerating. Okay, so accelerating, remember, means that there's a change in speed, right? And if you see, accelerating means you need to be going, like your speed needs to be increasing. So if you're accelerating, it could be either this upward sloping part or this upward sloping part of the curve, right? AB, it's not moving, it's a constant speed. CD is also constant speed. So between OA and BC, you can see that OA seems to be a steeper line. So that seems to be the most accelerating part of the car. But we need to consider the two accelerating parts. So OA and BC as accelerating And you can see that the negative slope, DE, is where it is decelerating. So therefore, it is option number 2. Below is a distance time graph describing a 750-meter race run by Caitlin. Work out the maximum speed she reached during this run. Okay, so looking at it, we have been given the different distances and the times that she went through. So what we could do is simply we could work out what is the speed for each of these, and then we can see which one was the maximum. So the answer has been given as meters per second, so we just need to simply work it out. And remember, speed is equal to distance divided by time. So it's simply just dividing each of these options. So 300 divided by 50. So the first one is actually 6. Then 450 divided by 120. So second one is 3.75. And third one is 800 divided by 200, which is 4. So obviously the maximum is option number A, which is 6 meters per second. And that, if you see, is option number 2 here. And that brings us to the end of the short lesson on travel and graph.
Subscribe us now for more videos and content.